إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, to proceed. Today, بإذن ta'ala, we begin the tafsir or the explanation of the second surah in Al-Quran. And the second surah, as we know, is Al-Baqarah. And Al-Baqarah is a surah which is Madani, meaning that it was revealed after the Hijrah. For the distinction between whether an ayah or a surah is Makki or Madani is, according to Al-Mufassirun, not where it was revealed, but when it was revealed. And as Surah Al-Baqarah, for the most part, except for the ayah, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرَجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ, that ayah which is considered to be one of the last from the ayat of Allah that was revealed, that was in Mecca. However, because it was revealed after the Hijrah, it's considered to be Madani, and Surah Al-Baqarah therefore is considered to be Madani. And in relation to this Surah Al-Baqarah, we have a number of ahadith that speak about its fada'il. Amongst them is the narration of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu an, which is sahih, collected in Al-Hakim's Al-Mustadrak, in addition to other books, where he sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Inna li kulli shay'in sanama, that indeed every matter has a pinnacle, or that which is the uppermost point. Wa inna san'ama al-Qur'ani Suratul Baqarah, and indeed the pinnacle or the summit of Al-Quran is Surah Al-Baqarah. وَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ إِذَا سَمِعَ سُورَةَ الْبَقَرَةِ تُقْرَأَ, that when the shaitan hears Surah Al-Baqarah being recited, خَرَجَ مِنَ الْبَيْتَ الَّذِي يُقْرَأُ فِيهِ, then he exits from that house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. So amongst the virtues and the greatness of this surah is that it is the pinnacle or the summit of Al-Quran, and it is something that the shaitan is afraid of, to the point that he would exit a house in which this great surah is recited. Similarly, as we mentioned in our introduction to our classes on tafsir, the great hadith of Abu Umama al-Bahili, where he radiyallahu anhu narrated that the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, اقرأوا القرآن فإنه يأتي يوم القيامة شفيعا لأصحابه, that you should read surah, you should read Al-Quran, because indeed it will come as an intercessor for its companions on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So therefore a person should occupy themselves with the recitation and the reflection and the memorization of Al-Quran, first and foremost because it will come on Yawm al-Qiyamah as an intercessor for its people. Then he sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, اقرأوا الزهروين البقرة وسورة آل إمران, and read the two radiant ones, Al-Baqarah and Al Imran. فإنهما تأتيان يوم القيامة كأنهما غمامتان. Because indeed those two surah, Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran, will come on Yawm al-Qiyamah كأنهما غمامتان, as though they are two clouds. Or كأنهما غيايتان, or they are two forms of shade. Or كأنهما فرقان من طير سواف, or they are two flocks of birds. تهاجان عن صاحبهما, and they will argue on behalf of their companions. So the ones who used to read and reflect over and act in accordance to and memorize Surah Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran, then they will come as a means of intercession for those people on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Then the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Iqra'u Surah Al-Baqarah, read Surah Al-Baqarah. فَإِنَّ أَخْذَهَا بَرَكَةً, because indeed its taking or adhering to it is a source of barakah, blessing. So أَخْذَهَا, إِنَّ أَخْذَهَا barakah, that its taking is a source of blessing. وَتَرْكَهَا حَسْرَةً, and abandoning it or leaving it is a source of regret and remorse. وَلَا تَسْتَطِيعُهَا الْبَطَلَةِ, and the sorcerers and the magicians have no ability against Surah Al-Baqarah. And similarly the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said concerning the virtue of Surah Al-Baqarah, لا تجعلوا بيوتكم لا تجعلوا بيوتكم مقابر, do not make your houses as graveyards. So do not leave them like a cemetery. Then he sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned the reason being that إن الشيطان ينفر من البيت تقرأ فيه سورة البقرة, that indeed the shaitan, he flees from a house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. So consider the greatness of this surah, that it is the longest surah in Al-Quran, for it is 286 ayat in length. And similarly, it contains the greatest ayah in Al-Quran, Ayat al-Kursi, as affirmed by the hadith of Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu anhu. And similarly, the last two ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, they were given specifically to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they contain a great virtue too that we will inshallah explain when we arrive at that point. So to begin therefore, concerning Surah Al-Baqarah, we mentioned that it is 286 ayat in length. And we know that there are how many days in the year? 365. So what does that mean therefore? It means that a person, if all they did from this point until next year in February or earlier, if they were to memorize one ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah every day, so that would be consistent with our tafsir of it. In fact, we do less than 7 ayat usually in one lesson. But if they were to memorize, commit to heart one ayah every day, from this point onwards for 286 days, then they would have memorized Surah Al-Baqarah. And that is a great blessing, and it's a great benefit, and it's a great action to do. So from all of the other actions in the life of this world, if a person was to exhaust their efforts to do this, to memorize Surah Al-Baqarah for the next 286 days, then that would have been a period of time that was spent well, that it would have been of benefit. And in relation to those people who find it difficult, then we say that rather Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in numerous ayat in Surah Al-Qamar, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ, that indeed we have made Al-Quran easy to remember. So who will pay attention to it? Who will remember that? Who will act in accordance to it? Allah Azza wa Jalla affirmed that Al-Quran has been made easy to memorize. And in addition to that, you will find that when you begin doing this and you exert your effort in order to memorize, and you apportion a period of time in the day to do that action, you will find that that becomes one of the most pleasant things that you will do in the day. You will find after a period of time that you long for that time to enter, and that you look forward to it. And you find that when you're doing it, that time doesn't really pass by, that you seem to be so absorbed in the action that you're unconcerned with what happens. And when you stop doing it, you'll start to miss it. So you look forward to that action. That is one of the benefits of memorization of Al-Quran. That is why Allah Azza wa Jalla said, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبَهُمْ بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, that those people who believe and then their hearts attain tranquility with the remembrance of Allah. Allah bi dhikrillahi tatma'innal qulub, is not with the remembrance of Allah that the hearts acquire tranquility. In this dunya that's surrounded by so many fitan, that is surrounded by so many shahawat, desires and whims, wa shubahat, doubts and misconceptions, and then this ummah, one in which is experiencing trial and catastrophe, it seems one after the next. A person, even a non-Muslim, they seek for something in the life of this world to give them some kind of consolation. They yearn, they look for something to give them tranquility. They look for something to give them meaning and a purpose. And we say, as Allah Azza wa Jalla said, يا أيها الناس قد جاءتكم موعظة من ربكم وشفاء لما في الصدور وهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين. O people, قد جاءتكم موعظة من ربكم, that a mau'idha, an admonition, a reminder has come to you for your Lord. So this is an address for all of mankind. وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and a huda, a guidance and a mercy for the believers. So if a person feels during the day or during the course of the week something from anxiety or stress, or as many people do, even amongst the Muslims, depression, there's no greater means of curing that state than reading Al-Quran, reflecting over it, then committing it to memory. And as I said, if you do that, in the beginning it may seem difficult, but when you train yourself and you become accustomed to doing this every day, then it will become easy, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, to the point where you want to do it all the time. And that is what the Salaf used to say about the one who يَتَلَذُّذْ بِقِرَاءَةِ الْقُرْآنِ وَبِحِفْظِ, the one who derives pleasure and enjoyment from Al-Quran, its memorization and its recitation. So we therefore advise all the people that if they never considered it before, that this now is a moment where you should decide, now I'm going to commit to memory Surah Al-Baqarah, starting with the first ayah. And 285 days later, then you'll find that you've completed it bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The next point to mention therefore is the first ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, ba'da a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. The first ayah is
Alif Lam Mim.
Yes, Muhammad. Alif Lam Mim. the first ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah. And as we know, this begins with 3 distinct, separate huruf or letters from the Arabic alphabet. And in fact, there are 28 surah in Al-Quran, 28 surah or surah in which Allah Azza wa Jalla started the surah with what we call al-huruf al-muqatta'ah, or letters that are disconnected. Why are they considered to be letters that are al-muqatta'ah? Because we pronounce them individually. We do not say alam. We do not pronounce it alam, because alam in Arabic has a different meaning. It means pain. But we say alif, lam, mim. We pronounce them separately. So, as we mentioned, there are 28 instances where Allah Azza wa Jalla started a surah in His book with al-huruf al-muqatta'a, using 14 separate letters. The question is, therefore, what do these letters refer to? Who knows?
Nobody knows. Some of the people who are Sufis, they've said that it means this and that, but nobody in reality knows.
Right. According to Al-Mufassirun, rahimahumullah, both from the past, such as Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, al-Qurtubi, al-Baghawi, and so on and so forth, up until our time today, like Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen, Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Sa'di, Sheikh Muhammad al-Amin, al-Shanqiti, rahimahumullah. In addition to other than them, such as those who are present and teaching today in Al-Haram, such as Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Ujilan, then the correct opinion, that which Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah affirmed, is that Allahu a'lamu bi muradiha, that Allah knows best regarding its murad, its intent. So many have spoken about this matter, and they said that the individual letters refer to a name of Allah, such as alif, it refers to Allah, and lam, it refers to latif, and mim, it refers to Majid, and so on and so forth. However, as we mentioned, that the majority and the strongest opinion is that Allah alone knows. Why? Because we have no dalil which is authentic from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding what its intent is. What we say al-murad. As for its meaning, the meaning of alifun and lamun and mimun, then it has no meaning. What do we mean by having no meaning? We mean that an individual letter in the Arabic language, just as in English, if we say A or B or C, then by itself, in isolation, it contains no meaning. Only when it is grouped together with other letters, in English consonants and vowels, and in Arabic, al-huruf wal-harakat, does it convey a meaning which, as we know, is mufidun. So, by themselves, alifun and lamun and mimum do not contain a meaning. Nevertheless, some from Ahlul Ilm, both past and present, have mentioned the wisdom in introducing certain surah with individual letters. And the wisdom or al-hikmah that they mentioned concerns the nature of Al-Quran. As we said, individually, alifun and lamun and mimum do not contain a meaning. But together, as we know, when it is al-murakkab with al-huruf and al-harakat, when it is connected together with other letters and with vowels such as al-fathatu and al-dammatu and al-kasratu, then they convey meaning. So it is like, as they mentioned, it is a challenge, or it was a challenge to Al-Quraysh, to the Arabs amongst the mushrikun, those who disbelieved, that if now Al-Quran was not revealed from Allah Azza wa Jalla, then you bring forth something similar to it, which is comprised of the Arabic letters that together collectively produce words and sentences and generate something similar to Al-Quran. So when Allah Azza wa Jalla began with Alif, Lam, Mim, they said that it is as though Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying to the Quraysh that you now produce something similar to it with these letters. Because these letters that Allah Azza wa Jalla used and spoke Al-Quran are not foreign letters. They're not letters that were unknown to the Arabs. They were not something new. Rather, they were familiar with these letters. So the challenge was to the Quraysh to produce something similar to Al-Quran. So the first challenge was what?
Surah. No. Bring
10 Ashri Surah, as the ayah states in Surah Hud. أم يقولون افترى قل فأتوا بأشر سور مثله مفتريات. Allah Azza wa Jalla said that they say أم يقولون افترى, that they say he has fabricated it. قل فأتوا بأشر سور مثله مفتريات. Bring forth 10 surah like it, which have been fabricated by yourselves. وَدْعُوا مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتُمْ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. And then call whomsoever you want to be witnesses for what you've done. So the first challenge from Allah Azza wa Jalla was فَأْتُوا بِأَشْرِ سُورٍ مِثْلِهِ مُفْتَرِيَاتٍ. Bring forth 10 surah like Al-Quran. And they were not able to do that. So then the next challenge was أَمْ يَقُولُونَ افترى قُلْ فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِثْلِهِ وَادْعُوا مَنِ اسْتَطَعْتُمْ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in Surah Yunus and in Surah Al-Baqarah that therefore bring فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِثْلِهِ, then bring forth a surah like it, and then call whomsoever you want to be witnesses, if indeed you are truthful. And they were not able to do that, even though a surah in Al-Quran, it can comprise only of 3 verses, such as Surah Al-Kawthar. And they were not able to do that. Then the final challenge was one ayah, and the dalil for that is in Surah Tur. فَلْيَأْتُوا بِحَدِيثٍ مِثْلِهِ إِن كَانُوا صَادِقِينَ. So let them يَأْتُوا بِحَدِيثٍ, with a single statement, مِثْلِهِ إِن كَانُوا صَادِقِينَ, if indeed they are truthful. And they were not able to do that. So the point being, the wisdom that Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah mentioned, in addition to Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Jalal and others, they said that Allah Azza wa Jalla is challenging them to produce something similar to Al-Quran, even if it be 10 surah or 1 surah or a single ayah, using al-huruf, the letters that Allah Azza wa Jalla used to reveal Al-Quran with. And they were not able to do that. So there's an incident that took place, or is attributed to have taken place, when the great companion, before he entered into Al-Islam, Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anh, before he entered into Al-Islam, he had a companionship or friendship with Musaylamah Al-Kadhab. Musaylama Al-Kadhab was the one who claimed to be a prophet. And he was given the title of Al-Kadhab, the liar. Now this incident, some of the people of knowledge have said that it is not correct, has no basis. Because there's a discrepancy between the time when Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anhu entered into al-Islam and when Musaylama, he claimed to be a prophet and professed prophethood. They said that there's a discrepancy, that this incident couldn't have taken place. Others said that it did take place, and generally when it comes to explaining or giving background information regarding certain incidents, the level of authenticity that's required is less than the standard given to a hadith upon which you're going to place a hukm. Which is why some of the scholars still narrated it. And it's mentioned that when Amr ibn al-As went to Musaylama al-Kadhab due to business reasons, and he stayed with him, Musaylama, he questioned Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anh regarding this man who had appeared in Makkah claiming prophethood and what had been revealed to him. So Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anh, he recited Surah Al-Asr. He said, Suratan Adhimatan. He said that which has been revealed to is a surah which is great. He said, what is that? So he recited Surah Al-Asr. Wal Asr innal insana lafi khusr. No, it's wajiza, it's very concise. Then the narration mentions that Musaylama al-Kadhab fakkara sa'a, he thought for a period of time. Then he said, innama unzala alayya mithla, that me too, something has been revealed to me similar to it. So Amr ibn al-As asked him to recite. So Musaylama al-Kadhab, he recited the following: Ya wabru, ya wabr, innama anta udhnani wa sadr, wasiruka haqrun naqrun. Which means, ya wabr, O rabbit, O rabbit. Innama anta udhnani wa sadr, you were only 2 ears and a chest. Siruka haqrun wa naqr, and your movement is in the ground when you're borrowing things, and it is only pecking or making a noise. So that was the surah that Musaylama claimed to, he claimed that had been revealed to him by Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, even in English, it's absurd. Even in English, to say, oh rabbit, you're only 2 ears and a chest, and your movement is only boring holes in the ground and it's making a noise. Even in English, it sounds absurd. In Arabic, it's even more absurd. Now, when Amr ibn al-As, he heard that, this is before he became a Muslim, he said to him, Innaka lata'alamu, indeed you know, Anni a'alam, that I know, Annaka kadhab, that you are a liar. Alright, he said, Innaka lata'alam, Anni a'alam, indeed you know that I know, Annaka kadhab, that you're a liar. So the point is, that story is narrated back, or it's transmitted back to the time of Amr ibn al-As. Whether the incident occurred or not, somebody wrote those few lines claiming that this is what had been revealed to Musaylama al-Kadhab. But the point is that Arabic was written intending to imitate the words of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And of course, it was not comparable, because not only did it not have the style, the unique style and rhythm of Al-Quran, the meaning's absurd too. Which is why when the Quraysh, when they used to hear Al-Quran being recited, and they knew in their hearts that this is something which is so different and unique to anything that they'd heard before, or anything that they could compose themselves, it was only that because of their kufr and their inad, their stubbornness and their unbelief and their unwillingness to consider and their lack of sincerity, that Allah placed a seal upon their hearts. But because they knew the power of Al-Quran and the language that Allah Azza wa Jalla used, they used to say, وَقَالَ الَّذِي, as Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned, Surah Fussilat, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه لعلكم تغلبون. That those who disbelieve, they say, لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن, do not even listen to this Quran, والغوا فيه, and make a noise. So when the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam would recite Al-Quran, or when he would pray and his recitation was loud, then they would make a noise in order that the others, those who were curious, those who did not have that level of stubborn disbelief that some of the leaders of the Quraysh had, lest that they should then listen and then become convinced that that was kalam, the speech of Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of Al-Alameen. That was the unique nature of Al-Quran. So when Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, Alif, Lam, Mim, then these are haruf that the Arabs knew. And as the Mufassirun mention, in order to strengthen this argument regarding the wisdom of introducing certain surah with these haruf, it's interesting to note that many of the surah of Al-Quran that begin with Al-Huruf Al-Muqatta'a, the next ayah or shortly afterwards, there's a reference to the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Right? So whenever it's mentioned, Al-Huruf, the letters, the next ayah or shortly afterwards, there will be a reference to the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla, such as in Al-Baqarah. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Alif, Lam, Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ. Right? Alif, Lam, Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ. That is the book. The next surah, Al Imran, Allah Azza wa Jalla again started with Alif, Lam, Mim. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa hayyul qayyum nazala alayka al-kitaba bil haqqi musaddiqan lima bayna yadayhi wa anzala tawrata wal injil min qabl. Right? Nazala alayka al-kitab bil haqq. That after mentioning Alif Lam Mim, Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned Nazala alayka al-kitab, that He revealed to you al-book, the book, and what Tawrat wal Injil, and the Tawrat and al Injil min qabl, before, hudan linnas, a guidance for the people. At the beginning of Surah Al-A'raf, Alif Lam Mim Sad, kitabun unzila alayka. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Alif Lam Mim Sad, 4 letters, kitabun unzila alayka, a book that has been revealed to you. At the beginning of Surah Yunus, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, Alif Lam Ra, tilka ayatul kitabil hakim. Right? Those, after mentioning Alif Lam Ra, tilka ayatul kitabil hakim, those are the ayat of a book which is Al-Hakim. In the beginning of Surah Shu'ara, in the beginning of Surah Qasas, Ta Sin Mim, tilka ayatul kitabil mubin. After mentioning the haruf, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, tilka ayatul kitabil mubin. Those are the ayat of Al-Kitab Al-Mubin. And other in Surah Qaf. So Surah Fussilat, we have a number of instances when Al-Huruf Al-Muqatta'a are used to introduce the surah. Allah Azza wa Jalla makes reference to the book in order to illustrate, as the scholars mention this point, that this is a book that is composed of letters that you are familiar with. That's why Allah Azza wa Jalla said, but they were not able to do it, were they? In Surah Al-Isra, قُلْ قل لئن اجتمعت الإنس والجن على يأتوك بمثل هذا القرآن لا يأتون بمثله ولو كان بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا. That say that if all of men and jinn were to come together in order to produce something like Al-Quran, لن يأتوا بمثله, they would not be able to produce anything like it. ولو كان بعضهم لبعض ظهيرا, even if some of them were helpers to others, they would not be able to do that. That is why when you consider the greatness and the incredible nature and the unique status that these words were spoken by Allah Azza wa Jalla and then heard by Jibreel alayhi salam, then spoken to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That is why, oh brothers, if you are going to exhaust your effort in the life of this world to do anything, whatever it is, then you should first exhort your efforts to commit to memory Al-Quran, beginning with Surah Al-Baqarah. That is what you should do. And you will find that it illuminates your heart and it gives you tranquility in a way that nothing else in the life of this world possibly does.